terms of wealth, we were actually poor. And we came from the wrong side of town. Despite that, I had a very active and enjoyable childhood. My father died when I was very young, and so much of what I wanted, I had to get it myself.
Tom started with nothing and found a way to be useful.
Tom always had the attitude that he could succeed, and if he was to succeed, it would be dependent on himself.
I was an entrepreneur at the early stages. I did build model airplanes and then sold them to the neighborhood kids.
An entrepreneur by nature is someone that is constantly, his whole world thinks about inventing and change.
I had a natural inclination to know how things worked, why they worked, and also could you make them work better. Around the 7th grade, I worked in a small motor shop. We used a lot of the machinery and a lot of the tools to make the mechanism on a Cushman motor scooter. And essentially, it's a series of wheels of different diameter that are stacked on top of one another. So it allowed you to go from very fast to much slower, but with more power. If you build something in somebody's shop and they pay you, it belongs to the shop. I learned a real good lesson about patents. I worked in a hospital from the age 12 as a scrub technician, and that's an individual who hands the surgical instruments to the doctor that's operating. And I did take an interest in how they use these medical devices, and through the process of cleaning them, I learned how they worked. I went to Roger Bacon High School, and I didn't care if I was a good student or not. At that point in time, it wasn't important to me, and actually my goal was to be a professional boxer. So I had 3 professional fights, and I won 2, and the last one, it ended up as a draw. And I decided, man, if this is a draw, I never want to lose, and so I quit. There is a commonality between boxing and surgery. You have to be really focused, just really focused. You need essentially the same hand-eye coordination. You need the same kind of quickness. So those are really quite similar attributes to both of those professions. To be good, one of the attributes is intelligence. I had some pretty good mentors. A gentleman called Glenn Morrow, who was one of the more renowned cardiac surgeons in the country, and I'd worked with Dr. Norman Shumway, and that was 1968. And prior to that, I took a fellowship with a Dr. John Cranley, and he always challenged me to solve a problem. And there were 2 issues that he presented to me. One is that a standard clamp damages or hurts an artery. This is a hard surface against a soft surface. You know, an artery is very soft and it's elastic, and when you essentially cut it off, the blood flow, you actually damage the soft tissue. And I developed a cushion that wouldn't slip, is essentially, so it's that simple. The second challenge was we can't get these blood clots out. What led to the balloon catheter was an observation that you could take a balloon and push it into a neck of a bottle. So it would conform to the irregularities of a bottle. And often an artery is irregular. So you need constant contact with a wall. So that was a simple childlike observation. I could not get anybody to prototype this or make anything, so I did it myself. And I took a piece of a surgical latex glove, the baby finger of it, which is fairly small. I tied that onto this catheter with fly tying techniques. It's really quite simple. It's a balloon on a stick. And the stick is a hollow tube that can either inflate or deflate the balloon. And what one does is insert the balloon, uninflate it, into an artery through a blood clot. Beyond the blood clot, you inflate the balloon, and then you withdraw the balloon, and that brings all the clotted material out of the arteries. So all the materials were there. It's just how to put them together was the issue.
I mean, a screwdriver is a very, very simple, extremely effective tool. And once you see a screwdriver, if you've never seen one before, you think, oh, what a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? And the fact is that Tom did.
And in medicine, you know, medicine is very traditional in nature, especially in the areas we're talking about, cardiac surgery, interventional cardiology. You know, there's very, what I would call, strict rules about the way doctors operate. And as you might expect, you're happy for most of that. But nonetheless, because of that, sometimes innovation is slowed. Because you need guys like Tom, who are looking at the problem going, there's a better way to do it.
We did it under local, and we made 2 small incisions in the groin and passed the catheter up in the abdomen and pulled it out. And it was very short. It was like, I think, 25 minutes. And the response was, holy shit, that had not been done.
So he does these procedures himself, and then he's using the currently available technology and just asking himself, what a stupid way of doing it.
My first effort with a balloon catheter wasn't really motivated by money.
And that's what's unique about Tom and some of the other folks, great inventors, I would say, in this field. Is those guys don't think about, gee, I'm going to make a lot of money, I'm going to take the company public.
And the concept of making money on this was a little bit foreign, and Dr. Cranley suggested I patent it, and I did. So I ended up, by making something to help patients, making money.
One of the things that I think Tom Fogarty does very effectively is that he understands when an advance is the basis of a product and when it is a bigger idea and the basis of a company.
The balloon catheter really was kind of on the forefront of non-invasive surgery. In fact, it was. And led to the concept that you can do surgery without general anesthesia.
The new devices that Tom invented allowed us to treat patients better with smaller incisions and with less invasive approaches.
So it kind of proved the concept. You don't have to cut everybody from stem to stern to cure them.
The fundamental idea of a catheter with a balloon on the end that can be used as a tool within the vascular tree was Tom's idea. And that turned out to be a fundamental starting point, a root of many other pieces. Tom had more than one skill. I mean, it's rare that most people don't get any. Some people are lucky enough to get a single skill, like they can play the cello or they can operate on the human heart. Tom got actually a series of skills, and that's it. And that's why he's such a rare bird, because he got very good surgical sense. He deeply understands surgery, but also he has a capacity to look at surgical problems without being bothered by the history of how they've been dealt with in the past. And then, and I think rarest, he's an intuitive engineer.
Tom Fogarty has a very good sense of how to take a clinical advance and make it into a business opportunity.
I think success really relates to hiring the right people and the smartest people you can. Even if you could do all these things yourself, you wouldn't have the time to do it.
Tom doesn't see it as work, doesn't see what he ever did was work, and winemaking's not work because the line between work and passion, if it's passion, is invisible.
The concept of growing wine in the Santa Cruz Mountains, actually most people did indicate to me that I was a little off. Some said blatantly crazy, but historically that wasn't true.
Tom Fogarty looks at this property and says this is a better place to grow grapes.
After I identified a winemaker of my choice, gave him a lot of leeway and essentially let him control the entire process of winemaking. And he's done some very innovative things which I've encouraged him to do. What we really want to accomplish is the best reasonably priced wine in North America. That's our objective.
He's got several sets of skills that interdigitate nicely.
There's only a few of them like him, I think, anywhere in the world. And in terms of his contribution to, quote, his field of medicine, it's monumental. He's just a wonderful guy.